Today, we show you the most terrible and crappiest moments in darts history. At the end, we show you the most awful moment ever that you don't want to miss, so keep watching. In Professional Darts Corporation World Championships, there was a match that became known for its incredibly poor performance by the players involved. The game featured Simon Whitlock, who was usually very skilled and is nicknamed the Wizard, and Martin Schindler, a talented player from Germany. However, on that particular day, something went very wrong, and both players struggled to play their best. The objective of the game was simple: score 501 points, and then hit a specific target called a double to win. But from the start, they kept missing their shots and making mistakes that they wouldn't normally make. Surprisingly, they went through a stretch of 22 unsuccessful attempts at hitting the targets, which was quite unusual and frustrating for everyone watching. The pressure of the moment seemed to make it even harder for them to succeed. At one point, they both only needed to hit double one to win a round. It should have been an easy shot, but even that proved to be difficult for them. Eventually, Schindler managed to hit the target and win that round, but it didn't take away from the fact that both players had a really bad game. Despite their poor performance, Whitlock managed to make a comeback, winning the match with a score of 3-1. Moving forward on our list, during the 2010 BDO World Championships, darts players Anthony Fleet and Martin Adams had a game they'd rather forget. Both of them played poorly and made many mistakes. Fleet had a really tough time. He couldn't throw his darts accurately, so he got low scores like 26, 41 and 60. And it got even worse with throws of 60, 5 and 41. The worst moment was when he accidentally hit the wrong target, the double one, which surprised everyone watching. Adams, who was a very experienced player and had won the World Championship before, also struggled in the game. He missed several chances to win the leg by hitting the right target. Finally, after a lot of tension, Adams managed to hit the right target and win the leg. In terms of the numbers, Fleet's average score for each set of 3 throws was only 65.34, which was one of the lowest ever recorded in a big darts competition. Because of his poor performance, Fleet lost the game without winning a single leg, which showed how both players struggled that day. Another example of a darts player's disappointing performance is Alan Bolton from New Zealand. While there aren't many available photos of him, we can refer to a particular image on the screen. In the 2008 PDC World Championship, he endured a challenging match, losing 5-0 in the preliminary round against Erwin Extricate. Bolton managed to secure a place in the event by winning the New Zealand national singles. During the championship, Bolton utilised a 22-gram Eric Bristow dart. However, despite his status as a national champion, he struggled to maintain a high level of play. His average score across the 5 legs he played in the tournament was only 60.38, which fell below his usual performance standards. Don't forget to hit the bullseye, so you never miss out on any of our amazing darts videos. Now let's move on to the next bad players on our list, Dave Harrington from New Zealand. Although he shares the same last name as famous darts players like Ryan Harrington and Rod Harrington, there is no relation between them. Dave Harrington had his moment in the 2013 version of the preliminary round. During that year, the preliminary round was getting tougher, with more competitive players joining the mix. Some notable names from that year's preliminary round included Daryl Gurney, Marjanovic, Max Hopp, Paul Lim and Jamie Lewis, who had previously reached the semi-finals. The competition was fierce, and Dave found himself pitted against Haruki Muramatsu. Dave couldn't find his rhythm in that game and ended up losing with a score of 4-0. It was a disappointing performance for him as he struggled to find consistency throughout the match. His average score for the game was a mere 59.36, well below his usual standards. The short format of the game proved to be detrimental to Dave's performance, leaving him unable to showcase his true potential on that particular day. However, despite his loss, Dave Harrington did leave a mark on the darts world. He brought the White Stripes' famous song to the World Championships, which was later adopted by Michael Van Gerwen as his iconic walk-on song. Jamie Lewis, who had reached the semi-finals of the World Championship in 2019, played against Devon Peterson in the first round. Unfortunately, Lewis had a hard time and couldn't find his usual rhythm. He ended up with a not so great average score of 62.9. It was a disappointing performance from someone who was considered to have a lot of talent. Another player who had a really bad game was Gary Eastwood. In the first round of the Players' Championship number 8 in Wigan in 2019, Eastwood played against Ryan Harrington. He had high hopes but didn't play well and ended up with an average score of 61.1. This was way below the expected level of play for that kind of competition. In 2022, Sean Wilkinson, who had reached the quarterfinals finals of the Grand Slam of Darts in the past, started playing on the professional tour. In his first tournament, Players Championship 1, Wilkinson played against Luke Peters. However, he got nervous and couldn't find his usual good form. He finished the match with a disappointing average score of 60.12. It wasn't a great start for Wilkinson, who had shown promise in the past. Richie Edhouse, who had been doing well in 2019, had a surprising setback in a tournament called the Pro Tour event in Barnsley. He was playing against Orion Joyce, but couldn't play as consistently as usual. His average score was only 58.4, which was not very good considering his previous performances. Pete Hudson also had a bad day during Players Championship number 11 in Barnsley in 2019. He played against Vincent van der Walt, but couldn't maintain a good average score. He ended up with a very low score of 52.2. It was definitely not a good game for Hudson, and he would rather forget about it. In 2009, a clash unfolded between two players who would make it onto our list of worst plays in darts. It was Warren French and Akira Nakakawa, facing off in a preliminary round game at the Ladbrokes.com World Darts Championship. Right from the beginning, it was clear that French and Nagakawa were struggling. Their throws were not accurate, they missed a lot of important shots, and they had trouble getting high scores. Normally, they are very precise and consistent, but on that day, their performance was not up to their usual standards. Nagakawa started off well and took the lead by winning the first 2 rounds. French tried to come back and won a round, but Nagakawa quickly responded and extended his lead. Even though there were a few moments where Nagakawa showed some impressive skills, like hitting the highest possible score, the overall quality of the game was not very good. Looking at the statistics, it's evident that this match was far from a display of high quality darts. Both players struggled to find their groove, resulting in average scores in the mid-50s. Nagakawa recorded an average of 54.34, just slightly behind French's marginally better 54.95. The match was filled with missed shots, throws that went in the wrong direction, and a general struggle to find a good rhythm. The pressure of the championship seemed to affect their performance, making it one of the most disappointing games in darts history. We've all experienced those matches where our opponent isn't quite at their best, and it ends up affecting our own game. Unfortunately, that's precisely what seemed to happen in this encounter. In the end, French managed to pull himself together and win the match with a score of 5-3. Now, let's talk about a time when a famous darts player, Eric Bristow, had a really bad game. Eric was a legendary player who had won the World Championship 5 times and was considered a superstar of the sport. He had won many other tournaments and was known as one of the best. But sometimes things didn't go as planned, and Eric faced a problem called dartitis. Dartitis is when players have trouble throwing the dart because they're afraid of missing the target. It can really affect their performance and confidence. In 1999, during a match against Peter Manley in the first round, Eric experienced dartitis. It had a big impact on his game, and he lost the match 3-0. His average score was only 53, which was really low for him. It was a sad moment for Eric because he had been one of the top players in the world. Finally, at Players Championship number 7 in Hildesheim, Matt Campbell had a really unfortunate game against Kim Huybrechts. Campbell had a hard time finding his rhythm and ended up with a disappointing average score of 48.4. This performance surprised many fans who knew that Campbell had played well in the past. Don't forget to hit the bullseye so you never miss out on any of our amazing darts videos. See you next time.